Thinking of going no contact on her? Or maybe you need to go radio silent and do a full reset. Do you want the best way to reattract a girl that's maybe lost interest in you? No worries, in this video we'll share what radio silence is, if it's better than no contact, and share a real life example of how it can drive women crazy. So definitely make sure you stick around until the end. At that point, I try and escalate things a little bit, I say, hey, I have a bottle of wine in my place, would you like to come over? I'm right around the corner. This is Gentlemen and Scholars, where we discuss dating style and personal development. If you're into becoming a better version of yourself, definitely make sure that you like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into today's video. So for today's topic, we're discussing if radio silence is better than no contact. But first, what is radio silence? See, radio silence is a term that first originated in military and communication contexts. It refers to a state in which all radio transmissions are intentionally ceased. And this could be done for various reasons, such as maintaining secrecy, avoiding detection, and preventing interference. But in the context of today's video, this term has been adopted to describe situations where there's a noticeable absence of communication or a lack of response from someone. If someone goes radio silent in a relationship, this means that they're not responding to calls, messages, and other forms of communication. So no contact, on the other hand, refers to a deliberate decision to cease all communication with someone indefinitely after either being disrespected or undervalued. And the difference here being that radio silence really takes it a step further by taking a step back to focus on one's life and self-improvement, and really refraining from social media and other forms of communication. So to illustrate a real life example of what it looks like to go radio silent, I do have a short story to share with you all. So one day while I'm hanging out at a local Starbucks, I'm just getting some work done and sipping on some coffee, I see this gorgeous woman walk in. And the moment I saw her, I was sort of breathtaking. And I thought to myself, I really want to meet this girl. However, I hadn't received any choosing signals just yet. So I waited to see if I could identify some more signs. And then, I'd go ahead and make my move. If you're unfamiliar with choosing signals, I did make a whole video on that goes through all the different choosing signals that you'll see from women that really convey that, they are in fact interested, or there might be some interest there. So you're going to want to watch that video. These are choosing signals that show that a woman may be interested. And when you see a few in succession, then you're able to make that deduction that there is in fact some interest there. But I'll go ahead and link that video here and also down below in the description. Definitely check that video out because it will provide more context in this particular situation. So anyway, I'm just scoping out the situation, looking to see if there's some other signs or signals that she is in fact interested. And when she does finally see me, as she places her order and then walks over to the counter to kind of wait for it to come out, we lock eyes, and then I maintain that eye contact with her, shoot her a smile just to see what she did, and she smiled back. So at that point, I ended up doing just like this and waved her over to me. But her order was coming out at the time, so she gave me the hand like, hey, hold on a second. So I just waited and chilled. But eventually she ended up making her way over to me. So when she made her way over to me, I said very simply, hey, I wanted to meet you. What's your name? So no crazy fancy line, no clever, witty, sort of pickup line or anything like that. Just something very simple and straight to the point. And that right there, she knew exactly what that meant. And she knew that I was definitely interested by me saying that. So anyway, at that point, we started talking about various topics. She was going to school out here. So that's why she was, here and at that particular Starbucks. And how she grew up in Chicago, and really just giving me her whole backstory. But after a few minutes of talking, maybe 5-10 minutes, I quickly went to, number one, get her information, but then immediately after set the date. So we ended up setting the date for a couple days out. So I got her information as well, so I was able to text her and get her address so I can come pick her up. And then we ended up going on a date and had a really great time. So I ended up taking her to this really nice restaurant in the city that everybody tends to love. So, we went there, had some food, ended up doing a lot of talking. But then afterwards, I had another destination in mind, which is a great tip for you all. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to join the Gentlemen and Scholars family. And consider checking out the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for free resources, Gentlemen and Scholars merch, book recommendations, consultation services, and our free Gentlemen and Scholars Ultimate Handbook, where you'll learn personal development tips on how to build a successful life and become the gentleman of your dreams, style tips to develop an eye-catching, attractive, and unique personal avatar, and dating tips to attract, court, and keep the woman of your dreams. Visit the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for more. Now back to the video. You know, if you do plan a date and you really like a particular girl, you know, it's good to have several destinations in mind. That way that, you know, when you're done with one thing, you can hop over to the next thing. And then, you know, at the end of the night, when you do finally take her home, you know, maybe she'll let you come inside, or maybe you'll end up going back to your place. So, you know, little things like that definitely do make a difference. So anyway, we went to this other destination in the city where, you know, it had a great view of the skyline. So, you know, she really enjoyed that. She really enjoyed seeing that part of the city because she had never been. So, you know, we just did a little bit more talking, but then eventually it started getting a little bit late and also a little bit cold. So we ended up making our way back. So when we make it back to my car, at that point, I try and escalate things a little bit. You know, I say, hey, you know, I have a bottle of wine in my place, you know, would you like to come over? I'm right around the corner. Then at that point, she's like, oh, I'm not sure, you know, we just met, so on and so forth. So, you know, she starts talking in circles a little bit. And, you know, eventually I just end up dropping her off back at her place. So here's where things got a little squirrely. There were, you know, a mix of things that kind of happened after the fact that didn't really work in my favor. So number one, she ended up getting pretty sick and catching a virus. Number two, she ended up having to go back to Chicago, which was not ideal. And then number three, she was just getting really wishy-washy on her availability and the dates and such. So, you know, I would go to make a date and then she'd say, hey, you know, I'm not sure. At that point, it was getting a little weird for me. So when she was giving wishy-washy responses and not committing to a firm date, I would say, hey, you know, let me know when your schedule frees up, when you're feeling a little bit better, and then we can set the date then. And then at that point, I didn't hear from her for a full 4 months. So yeah, we didn't talk for a good 4 months. So I went completely radio silent. You know, I didn't keep tabs on her. I didn't continue to check in. You know, I didn't do any of those things. I simply focused on myself, focused on self-improvement. You know, I was continuing to go to the gym and, you know, work out and, you know, maintain all the healthy habits that I had prior to meeting her. And really, I just stopped thinking about it. But, you know, what eventually ended up happening was I ended up seeing her in that very same Starbucks again one day when I was getting some work done. And then, you know, when we saw each other and we locked eyes, she immediately lit up and she was super excited to see me, and then ended up running right over and giving me a hug. So, you know, after that, I ended up again setting another date. And then this time, you know, things went as planned. We ended up going out, having a really good time. And then I eventually hung out back at her place. So, you know, that's just a quick example of what it looks like to go radio silent. And in terms of, you know, what's better, radio silent versus no contact, it's really circumstantial. Sometimes you do need to take that extra measure and really refrain from all forms of, you know, communication to not only her, but also, you know, social media, just kind of refraining from everything to kind of focus on yourself, allow yourself to heal, to kind of get your head together. So sometimes that's needed, but in other cases, you know, it's totally fine just to go simply no contact and just not contact that particular woman or that particular person, and then focus on, you know, maybe finding somebody better. So really it's circumstantial. It really comes down to what's most advantageous for you and where you're at. You know, if you're, you know, not feeling it mentally and maybe you need to take that step back, then definitely make sure that you do that. You know, you want to focus on your well-being and, you know, make sure that you're okay. But, you know, if you're able to get back out there and, you know, maybe find somebody that's even more compatible for you, then I would highly encourage you to do that. So, you know, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. If you do have any questions for me, definitely feel free to give a shout. definitely make sure that you subscribe to the channel. So definitely let me know down below, have you ever gone no contact? Have you ever gone radio silent? You know, how has that been for you? Definitely let me know in the comment section down below. And definitely make sure that you check out the Gentlemen and Scholars Ultimate Handbook that can be found on the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website. It goes over style, dating, personal development tips to 10x your personal growth. So I'd highly encourage you to check that out. You can get it for free just by visiting the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website and entering your name and email. So definitely make sure that you check that out. But you know, until next time, Gentlemen and Scholars. Hey gents, hope you enjoyed the video. And check out the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for our free Gentlemen and Scholars Ultimate Handbook, free resources, book recommendations, consultation services, and some pretty slick Gentlemen and Scholars merch. GNS hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, notebooks, and so much more. Until next time, Gentlemen and Scholars. Hey gents, if you enjoyed this video, check out some bespoke video recommendations here and here. And subscribe to join the Gentlemen and Scholars Club.